Thanks for downloading this episode from Teachers Talk Radio. You can find the full schedule and listen back to all our shows at ttradio.org. Enjoy the podcast.
This show is brought to you in partnership with John Catt Educational, publishing professional development books and resources to support great teaching and learning in schools around the world. Have you checked out their latest releases? Use the code JCTTR2324 for 20% off your order. Don't miss out. Visit johncattbookshop.com to explore their full range of titles and advance your own professional development today. Happy reading. Bet UK is empowering the everyday wins, cheeky grins, big conversations, budding aspirations. Our goal? To make EdTech accessible and teaching exceptional. Join the global education community on the 24th to the 26th of January 2024 as we make education better together. Visit www.uk.betshow.com/visitor-registration.
How are we starting this thing?
You always used to start it. You used to.
Okay. All right. Hello, everybody. I don't know whether it's happening in the evening or the daytime, this show.
I think it's going out in the evening, Toby. So,
okay.
So it's good evening to all the people in Radio Land. But it'll probably be repeated 17,000 times, all times of day and night. So if it's morning for you, good morning. If you're out walking the dog, which you mostly likely are, then good dog walk. Yes. Toby, it's good to see you. How long is it since we last did a show?
It's been 6 months since we did a show. I think nearly 6 months, maybe more like 5.5 or something like that.
Well, we
were July when we end of summer term. July we did something around there.
Do you know what? I think it's fair to say that both our lives have changed significantly since our last episode. We're in different places, aren't we?
We are really different places. I mean, yeah, yes. So shall I go first with updating?
On. What's happened in your life?
My life. Well, I finished my job of 9 years in my old school and started a new teaching job in September. Yeah. And that's been quite a big change, you know. So I don't have any sort of leadership responsibility, any curriculum leadership responsibility or anything. I am teaching maths and science to mainly Key Stage 3. So it's mainly year 7, 8 and 9. And I'm having to teach a little bit of ICT as well, which is like asking a mathematical genius to teach the works of Thomas Hardy, or vice versa. I don't know. It's not but apart from that, it's really good. I'm really enjoying the new job. It's fresh start, fresh change, different school, different culture, much more currently stable financially. We'll see what happens with the old VAT on fees.
What? Teachers up and down the land will be jealous when they hear that you're at a financially viable school. There's around.
Exactly.
Your old place, you were teaching primary age, weren't you? And now you're teaching Key Stage 3-ish. Do you see a significant difference?
I was teaching Key Stage up. I was teaching in a prep school before, so it did go up to the end of year 8, but the bulk of the school was mainly kind of primary culture with 7 and 8 bolted on, a very small year 7 and 8 bolted on, whereas where I am now is still a private independent school, but it is year 7 up, so it's 11. It's like any other secondary school. Has a sixth form. I am teaching some what we call fifth form, which is year 11, and a little bit, and I interact with some of the sixth form. The culture is enormously different. So they're both independent schools, but I very much like my new colleagues. I very much like my new colleagues. I probably feel closest to the maths department because that's where I reside, classroom-wise. But my boss, my line manager, is head of science, and he's a great guy. But it's just the notable difference in that, as I suspected, that secondary schools are very, very focused on exams, and they're very, and that really filters down into exams and exam specifications and their content. So and then that filters right down into Key Stage 3, because however good and enthusiastic teachers are of that age, their bread and butter is their year 10, year 11 classes and their year 13 classes. And so that doesn't mean to say that the year 7, 8 and 9 classes get a bum deal, but it just means that they're taught in a certain way a little early, in my opinion. It's just a little too. And so the culture and the teachers are very much, you've got this very, a maths teacher is a very different thing to an English teacher. And but I would say where I am at my school, the culture is pretty joined up. It's quite good. The common room's pretty lively. It's not too siloized. But that's probably enough on that. And then the other big thing that's happened in my life is I've been living as a bachelor in my new house for what's it now, 16 months, something like that, 15 months. But I've got a new bit of romance going on in my life. I mean, it's still pretty early days, but that's been pretty big. That's pretty big. It's pretty early days, but it's pretty established. It's pretty secure. Coming up for 2 months now. And we're developing a pretty deep connection, and that's a lovely thing. And so I wasn't expecting that to happen at all. I mean, it wasn't a complete surprise because it was initially via the medium of a dating app.
If you've got that far, you're indicating a level of readiness, I guess. I'm so pleased for you, Toby. I'm so pleased for you, and I'm so. I just think it's really brave to allow yourself to take that step. Signing up to the app and then actually meeting somebody, and taking all those risks. I think it's really brave, and it's not something I've ever done. So I am proud of you, my friend, and I'm very, very pleased for you, and I can't wait to meet her.
No, cool, absolutely. Well, that will be emerging and infusing with my wider life and family. Fairly early in 2024, I think. But but Christmas has come a bit early to do all that infusion.
Now, so. No, don't do that. Don't mix up Christmas with and drink and family and all that. No, get that out of the way. This time last year, I was meeting my Katie's girls for the first time. About almost exactly this time last year, which I was very nervous about. Thought, is this really a great idea? Do they need another bloke? But that went really well. So that's something which has really come into focus over the last year for me. It's great. It's like having another extra bit of family.
Together for 18 months or so, but
that. Something about 18 months, and that's really working really well. I'm really happy with it. I'll be going up there tomorrow. This time tomorrow, I shall be up at Katie's having our sort of pre-Christmas before we
pre-Christmas, lovely, and then you're back down in Devon, and we are spending New Year's Eve together again, aren't we?
New Year's Eve. In fact, we should say this because this, I believe, is going to go out on the 28th. So if anybody's around the Crediton area and would like to join us for our great pub crawl,
annual Crediton pub crawl.
I tell you what, we won't be starting at the Crediton Tandoori this time. That was a mistake.
No, it's surprising we survived it, to be honest.
Yeah.
But
I'm saying eat at home before we go out. That's my feeling strongly. Is we should eat here and then go out. There's a new wine bar we have to take in, and we're considering that we might drop one of last year's itinerary off the list, aren't we?
Yes, definitely. Don't want to go in the Plymouth Arms again.
No, that's terrifying. Don't go there. Ladies and gentlemen, if this program teaches you one thing today, it's don't go in the Plymouth Arms. It's scary. Other than that, so in the last 6 months, so the last time we spoke on the radio, I think I was still being a head teacher, wasn't I? And I'm not a head teacher anymore.
In a primary school in Devon, and you are now doing what, Ed?
I'm doing all sorts of matters. What I'm really excited, in fact, the job I've been doing before we've spoken today is I've been writing a funeral. Because I'm training to be a funeral celebrant. So I spent the morning writing the funeral of a lady called Joan Rhodes, who actually died in 2010, but we'll pass over that, who was a star of stage and screen. I've been writing her a very moving humanist funeral. I feel almost sad that I don't get to hold that funeral. I put into it. Did some training last week, and I've got some more training in January. So if anybody's thinking of dying and they want a celebrant, I'm very much in the business.
Will
Do
you
bear me in
be a
mind.
dying celebrant or a dead person celebrant, or will you be a betrothing themselves to each other in some shape or form celebrant as well?
Well, I will do that in the future. The training I'm doing at the moment is purely for funerals.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Okay.
and then once I've got the full accreditation and I've done my probation, then I'll look see if I can find some money to do the wedding training
Yeah.
and add that one on. The thing with weddings is people plan them far in advance and they make a lot of fuss. So you get paid
Yeah.
more for them, but they're a lot more work. When you want a funeral, you want it fairly imminently. Tends to be. So if I get on the train now, I could be getting some work within a fortnight. Whereas if I get paid for the funeral business now, people might be saying, "Oh, we'd love to book you for our wedding in
In September 2025.
exactly, yeah."
Because
So
these days there's this state of engagement, isn't there, which can last for like you. I've been learning about this sort of stuff a little bit. The pre engagement. I'm nowhere
yeah.
near there. But you get the dating, linking, and all that sort of stuff, and then
Oh,
and then you
Lord.
but so people get engaged. Whereas it used to be you get engaged to be married, and they used to be, but now people get engaged and then spend 5 years saving up to get married, which is fair enough, I suppose. But it's kind of weird. I think it's a bit weird.
I think it's definitely a bit weird. Yeah, it's definitely a bit weird. Without a shadow of a doubt, I think it's jolly weird. Um, Yeah, so I'm doing that, and then I'm also doing these big education conversations, which involve me driving up and down the countryside and meeting with young people in schools and meeting their community. I was in Ilford last week. I was in Beckenham. I've been in Northumberland and the Isle of Wight and Shropshire and Lincolnshire. That's exciting work. I really enjoy it, but I don't know that it's that interesting. But it's program. So why don't we push on?
Yeah, push on. We've got a very formal schedule planned
Yeah.
because this is a one-off show. It's lovely to be back on the radio, although it's a pre-recorded show. It's lovely to be speaking to some of our old friends on TTR. But what's next, Ed, in our schedule then?
Well, next is you were going to ask me casually, as if we hadn't planned it. You were going to ask me what on earth's going on with Twitter because you've been
Oh,
off Twitter for months and months now. I feel like it's
yeah.
almost approaching a year since you.
Yeah, as I think what I've identified with my new romance is I am a very addictive person. I'm a very kind and generous person, but I do have a bit of an addiction problem. It might be spending money on buying records. It might be hosting parties that with Waitrose party food, which I can't really afford, and think, oh fuck
Yeah.
it. So oh no, sorry, swear word, bleep bleep bleep. They can block that out, can't they? But Twitter was definitely an addiction for me. It was my affair. I think it was my escape from and there's lots of good things about it that I wouldn't know you. We've been through all that, but it's definitely just clicking on, noting in notifications, joining in conversations. It's really important if you have a sort of consultancy, public-facing kind of role in whatever profession it is you do, because I think it's a good thing. But actually, it's quite a distraction from the day job. It's quite a distraction from your personal life.
It's all that. But I mean, the thing that's happened over the last few months, Toby, is that all those things that we thought were useful about it, like so if you're doing a consultancy sort of a job and you've got to build your profile and fish for clients, the changes that have been made to the platform by the new owner mean it just doesn't do that very well at all. So it really is dying a death. Now, there's a really nice kernel of the Eddie Twitter community still left hanging on. So there's still that little bit in it, which is quite nice, and I click on and I see some familiar faces. But in terms of engagement, it's gone through the floor. I used to tweet a picture of me breakfast and get a couple of hundred likes,
Yeah.
And I don't anymore. I don't think I deserved those likes. They weren't earned in any way, but it was quite gratifying, I suppose. And it was all part of feeling that you were part of a community. That's just dropped right off a cliff. I tweeted a picture of a new lino cut last night. A picture of a new lino cut. And back in the old days, a lino cut I've had lots of lots of people saying that's beautiful. Some people saying, can I have a copy? Some people saying, do you know my friend? He does lino cut. And I'm just like, community. I think I had 3 likes on that. Now,
Wow.
I don't do it because for the likes. I do it because I enjoy doing lino cut, and it puts me into a headspace which is good for me and things. So I don't really care. But it's just a
Mm.
sign. It's dropped off its perch, and it's not picked up anywhere else. So Threads
No.
isn't doing the business. Blue Sky isn't doing the business. What's the other one? Mastodon. None of them are doing what Twitter used to be doing. So I feel like
Uh,
it's gone. I feel like that era of something like Twitter, where lots and loads and loads of people from different communities are on it and they
yeah.
interact quite a lot. I think that's gone. I think now you go, oh, I've got my WhatsApp group for my little guitar band I practice with on a Saturday, and then I've got this kind of group for this kind of people. And maybe you don't want to just bump into a whole lot of people you might have a screaming argument with.
And I think maybe the professional side of it, because it was used a lot in teachers for growing their professional network, their and developing a bit of a sort of fame, a bit of Twitter fame. But all other professions use LinkedIn for that. So
Yeah,
LinkedIn,
and I think LinkedIn is picking up for teachers. I do. I see more of it. Anyway, that is certainly
yeah,
not the most interesting thing to talk about. So yeah, I think we will see 2023 as the year that Twitter died, and
the year
2024 as
that
the year that we
died.
held its
Yeah.
funeral. And this
I'm
time
just going
next
to say
year, I
one
don't
more
know if
thing.
it
I
will
did
exist.
miss being on Twitter very recently, though, because on around this local area, I think you may have seen some tweets from me on it last year. There was and there are quite a lot of them around the country now, a lights up tractor run.
Yes.
Okay, so this was the local young farmers club organised a charity tractor run. There were 44 tractors, all lit up with fairy lights and horns and beautifully decorated, all in a convoy going around four Kentish villages. Went through Goudhurst, Cranbrook, Staplehurst, and Marden, and the crowds that came out for this. And so I sort of wished I was still on Twitter on my phone. I have still got my Twitter account, which I can get onto, but I don't go onto it at all now.
Yeah.
But it's
Well, in yesteryear, a nice bit of video. I did see some of those tractor drive outs on Twitter, so they were happening. There were big crowds on your one. I saw the video that you shared on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
You had big old crowds.
Crazy crowd.
Anyway, I tell you what, the biggest thing for Twitter recently, it's still rumbling on. I don't even know if you know, but Tim Brighouse died a few days ago. One of the tweets I'm tagged into on that is now up to a steady 4,000 views and still clicking along. And I'm like, this feels like the old days. I had no idea so many people felt so passionately about him. Anyway, that might bring us on to my next question for you. Because we're going to move on in terms of content too. Here we go. You're going to have a dinner party. You and me, probably in your house, because I think your house might have a bigger dining table.
Yeah, let's do it.
We're going to have a dinner party, and I'll be there and you'll be there. They're a given. And we're going to invite 3 guests each. Okay, so here it is. We're developing, I think, I don't know, if we were doing this live in the comments, we'd have the usual suspects chipping in on this one. I wonder who they'd say. Without them, we've got to handle it ourselves.
But it's going to be an educational dinner party, isn't it? So
yes.
Okay. So I'm going to go with my mate. I have never met him, but I'm a big fan of. I'd like Alan de Botton to be there.
Oh yeah,
the philosopher. Now he's not an educationalist, but he's founded with a number of other philosophers and writers the organisation, the School of Life, which is all about teaching us about ourselves and teaching us to live a good life and to be.
You get a feeling that he'd be good at a dinner party as well, don't you? You feel it. He's
good at. He's very well read. He's very learned. I think he's a pretty deep thinker, so he would listen and respond to the opposing views and things. I'd like to hear what he had to, because I love that line in the School of Life that, at the beginning of the book, The School of Life, and they've published loads of different books about all sorts of different things. But the original book, The School of Life, is, we're sort of obsessed about, it's called an emotional education. So instead of being educated in material things which we seem obsessed with, like maths and cloud formations and oxbow lakes and wives of Henry VIII and etc., all that stuff, we'd be educated more in fathoming shame and range and kindness and marriage, and of course we don't do that for a whole host of reasons. But the main reason we don't do it is we're not set up to do it, and it's difficult, and you can't measure it easily, and you can't quantify it, and you can't put it in the treadmill of a 30 kids in a classroom exam system that our education system is still functioning as. So I'd like to get him.
Okay. Alan de Botton. Okay, I'll allow it. Okay. Now I wasn't sure when we discussed this whether we were insisting on these people being alive.
No, they can be dead.
Okay. I was thinking we should maybe have William Gladstone. You prepared to
William Gladstone? Yeah, let's go. William Gladstone. Let's have him.
William Gladstone. And the reason I think he should be allowed in is because the 1870 Education Act passed under his watch as Prime Minister, which I think is a strong enough argument, because that was the act which gave us universal free primary education in England and Wales.
Oh, so, good choice. Yes. Okay.
You could tell him, you could tell him about everything that's gone wrong, and you could say, "Can we rewrite the act, please? And can we can we build into it certain safeguards?"
Yeah. What a great idea!
And the Alan de Botton, he could join in with that, couldn't he? He could say, you do need an academic education, but you need an emotional education. You need a degree of life skills, but we don't want to segregate it. If they built in from the very, very start, we might not have needed to go through secondary modern and grammars, for example. We could have had a truly comprehensive education from the kick-off, maybe. It's a nice thought.
Interesting, yeah, absolutely.
The way
I was talking about secondary grammar stuff today, earlier on, and talking to, so I might put myself out there and do a bit of tutoring, but in principle, just to kind of, but in principle, I don't really want in Kent. I don't really want to be one of those pesky 11 plus tutors that's on a Saturday morning teaching children from year 3 that core math skills and core English skills for very targeted the Kent 11 plus test.
11 plus,
affluent middle classes who are trying to secure their place in a grammar school. I'd rather be helping the sort of the kids from people aren't going to pay for tutoring if they're from a poor background, so it's just not going to happen. I suppose.
I've been approached recently. I was approached by a tutoring agency. He wanted me, and I haven't got any capacity, so why they thought I was a good person to talk to, I don't know. They wanted me to do some tutoring. I said exactly that. I said, it's not my style to be enabling the privileged to become more privileged. And they said, that's not what we're doing, and that's not what the majority of tutors are doing now. There's so many kids who are falling out of education because of social anxiety, because schools aren't well set up for autistic children, for millions of reasons. It's a real epidemic. They said that the majority of the work they have is paid by county, and it's to enable those young people to get some basic education. Hopefully, some of them with the intention that they'll get back into school, but an awful lot of them won't, because once you've realised that you can get a better education out of the building than you can get in the building, well, it makes it hard to persuade them to get back in. All right, come on. Who's your next guest then?
Right, our next guest is a hot off the press. I have not got into the book in great detail, but I'm about a quarter of the way into it. Is a guy called Mustafa Suleyman about AI, about artificial intelligence.
Power and the 21st century's greatest dilemma.
Yeah. So he's writing. And Mustafa Suleyman is the co-founder and CEO of Inflection AI. Previously, he co-founded DeepMind, one of the world's leading AI companies. DeepMind, part of Google. After a decade at DeepMind, Suleyman became vice president of AI product management and AI policy at Google. When he was an undergraduate at Oxford, Suleyman dropped out to help start a non-profit telephone counselling service.
So you're convinced by this argument that AI is going to change it? Let's only do a minute.
I'm interested in. So he's writing quite pragmatically about it. It's very populist, isn't it, to talk about AI? It's going to change the world, and it's going to. And I don't think we're just at the beginning of it, right? So ChatGPT is our most direct, and my school has an AI working party, and education at the moment seems to have its, as it does always, it's very slow. It's very slow to change. It's like turning an oil tanker around, and so it seems to be just concerned about basically preventing ChatGPT from corrupting, and things like ChatGPT from affecting children's coursework in exams, and how you can spot.
That's the thing people are worried about now.
That is just the tip of the iceberg. My view is that humans will always have a choice to live outside technology, but it's hard in the mainstream. These things, you will have AI is already computer programming things. We are already printing DNA, so we're way beyond genetic modification. That's AI. That's a second thing. It's biotechnology. But he talks about that a lot. But I think my view, as you know, is that we know now that computing power can do things that humans have been trained to do for years way more efficiently. So, and yet we're still educating humans to be computational thinkers. It seems to be a bit bonkers when we know that even the greatest computational thinking humans, the most logical minds, cannot compete with computing technology now. And
that's true. That's been true for a long time, hasn't it? So, I mean,
it wasn't true pre-1950, was it? It wasn't true pre-1950, and it probably wasn't true pre-1980. But yeah, it has been true for a while. And so I just think that it does throw open that whole, why are we filling kids with facts?
I mean, so I've been speaking to people all over the country, and it's been fascinating. So I spoke to a gentleman in Sussex who said, we need a different sort of education for the sort of education that we had, because jobs are going to be different, everything's going to be different. And so we need education that will prepare them, because their world will be unimaginably different from the world that we grew up in. And I said, hang on a second, you're the same age that I am, yeah? I think, maybe a little bit older. Am I right that when you were at school, you didn't see a computer? Yes, he said. I said, all right. And in your career, have you learned how to use computers? Yes, he says. Yeah. I said, by the end of my career, I've been pretty much totally dependent on it. So do you think that change you've seen in your professional life from doing things in a ledger, with a book, with a dip pen, to...
I hate phrase. I agree with you. I totally agree with you. That phrase of like, we're teaching people for jobs that don't exist yet. We have been doing that for the last 100 years. Absolutely. It's ridiculous. That's not the argument I'm making. But the thing is, but there's no evidence base for what we teach in school as being the best way to train a human mind.
Oh, that's for sure. We aren't coming up. Which would bring me on to my second guest. Now, I have to say, we're going to speed up a bit, because we're half an hour in and we're way behind. I want Sir Tim Brickhouse. He only died, like I say, less than a fortnight ago, but what a great man he was. And really feel sad about that. I only met him a couple of times. Was once running a hustings before which election would it be? 2014 maybe? But I ran an education hustings at the town hall in Oxford, and I got him to come along. Layla Moran came along to that as well. John House, and I had an all-star cast for that. But it's just such a lovely man, so generous with his time. And when you look at what he achieved, particularly, I think that the lessons of the London Challenge are lessons that should be being dredged up by everybody at the moment, as we sort of seem to be looking at our inspection process and talking about, well, did we want one that was going to drive school improvement, or was it going to be purely punitive? What Tim Brickhouse was doing in London Challenge, based on what he'd done before that when he was head of education in Birmingham, bringing people together, making them sense check each other, using communities to be, quality assurance vehicles. Really beautiful work. And he was funny, and he was kind, and he looked more or less like a tramp, which I always thought was good in someone. I can trust someone more if they look like they've slept in a gutter. Terrific man. Anyway, he's my second guest.
Good.
Well, now onto your third.
My third guest is going to be quick. We haven't invited any females to our dinner party yet, Ed. So we need to invite a female. I would like to invite my new girlfriend to the dinner party.
Oh.
She's a lady called Well, it doesn't matter what she's called. Because I think we'll keep that secret. But she works in now. She was a graphic designer. So she trained in Sydney UTC, and then she lectured in graphic design at the university in Sydney, and then she had her own graphic design business, and that's what she did for a long, long time. And then about 8 years ago, she moved to the UK and moved into service design, which is something I haven't quite got my head around. But it's a form of it's a creative industry thing, and it's a bit like kind of management consultancy, I suppose, in the sense you look at a problem and you kind of break it down, and you're designing a service from the user's perspective. She's done a lot of work with the BBC. She's done a lot of work with the DFE on teacher misconduct and the process that teachers go through on misconduct, and just looking at that, and she's done a lot of work in social housing, and she's just has a great mind, a creative mind, a lateral mind, a bit like me, but I haven't deployed mine in that sense, where she's fully deployed the best of her mind into being able to look at very different parts of problems. And
if we were to give her free rein to reimagine our education system from the point of view of the user.
Already spoken about that, and she's her daughter is at a film school or a film college, sixth form college, which specializes in sort of film production and stuff like that. So she's a little bit of the kind of like.
So if we get her together with William Gladstone, get right in there at ground level. We're going to have universal education. That's a given.
Yeah.
How are we going to make that look? Brilliant. Okay, well, I'm going to have one more in that case. I've decided I'm having Professor Dorothy Heathcote, or Heathcote, I hear.
Oh, yes. Okay.
The inventor of the mantle of the expert, storyteller, dramaturge, fantastic mad old lady. She would be great company. I don't know when she died, and I certainly never met her. My friend Tim met her, I think, once, but she'd be great to have, and she would certainly have a different opinion on what education might be to. Well, actually, I think the people we've chosen would come around, this idea of a liberal primary education being arts-based and as much about the emotions as it is about the facts. You need some facts, I'm sure, but what a great dinner party. We are, I think, halfway through our allotted time. Is it time for a song, would you say?
It's time for a song, Ed. Surprise us with a song.
Okay, well, I will see if I can find, because it took us a little while to get set up, didn't it?
It did.
Found it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, please do sing along. You know you want to. Here we go. Christmas song number 1. Rocking around the Christmas tree at the Christmas party hop. Mistletoe hung where you can see every couple wants to stop. Rocking around the Christmas tree, let the Christmas spirit ring. Later we'll have some pumpkin pie and we'll do some caroling. You will get a sentimental feeling when you hear voices singing, let's be jolly, deck the halls with flowers of holly, rocking around the Christmas tree, have a happy holiday. Everyone dancing merrily in the new old-fashioned way. You will get a sentimental feeling when you hear voices singing, let's be jolly. The halls with bells of holly, rocking around the Christmas tree, have a happy holiday. Everyone dancing merrily in the new old-fashioned way.
This show is brought to you in partnership with John Catt Educational, publishing professional development books and resources to support great teaching and learning in schools around the world. Have you checked out their latest releases? Use the code JCTTR2324 for 20% off your order. Don't miss out. Visit johncatbookshop.com to explore their full range of titles and advance your own professional development today. Happy reading. Bet UK is empowering the everyday wins, cheeky grins, big conversations, budding aspirations. Our goal? To make EdTech accessible and teaching exceptional. Join the global education community on the 24th to the 26th of January 2024 as we make education better together. Visit www.uk.betshow.com/visitor-registration.
This is Teachers Talk Radio, and this is Teachers Talk Radio News.
The Guardian features comment on a parliamentary report which is calling for an overhaul of secondary education in England. The House of Lords report says the education system for 11 to 16-year-olds is too focused on academic learning and written exams. The report also calls for the English Baccalaureate, or EBAC, introduced by Michael Gove during his tenure as Education Secretary, to be scrapped as a school performance measure. The government ambition for 90% of Year 10 pupils to be entered for EBAC subjects by 2025 is criticised for being too limiting and not allowing pupils to study a range of subjects. Criticism is also levelled at the overburdened curriculum as a result of content and the 25 to 30 hours of examinations at the end of Year 11. The report echoes some concerns expressed by some teachers and school leaders. Recommendations include allowing schools to offer a more varied range of learning experiences, more opportunities to study creative, vocational and technical subjects, and that pupils should have the option to take functional literacy and numeracy qualifications that are equal in value to GCSEs in English and Maths. Former Education Minister under the Conservatives, Jo Johnson, says the evidence received was compelling and that change was urgently needed. Former Education Secretary Kenneth Baker said dropping the EBAC would give schools greater freedom. Unions welcomed the calls but said school funding, recruitment and retention and cutting workload were essential to making any changes a possibility. A Department for Education spokesperson said, "We are constantly seeing the success of our reforms, citing recently released PISA rankings and being named best in the West for primary reading out of a comparable 43 countries." The Observer focuses on Scottish schools dropping the PISA ratings and featured an opinion piece by Sonia Soda. The piece lays blame squarely on the curriculum reform which began under the SNP in 2010. It changed the focus from knowledge, emphasising the development of transferable skills. The approach is linked to the idea of preparing children with skills they need for jobs that don't exist yet. But the article says this is a theory based on zero evidence. The article goes on to make links to other countries which made similar changes and saw similar declines, including Sweden and France. It also focuses on the impact such a curriculum has on disadvantaged pupils, increasing, it says, the gap between the non-disadvantaged peers. As the House of Lords report levels criticism at a so-called traditional system in England, it seems that Scotland's more progressive approach is being seen in a similarly negative light. The BBC World Service features a piece on universities in Hong Kong. Once attracting talent from around the world, now academics fear Beijing is restricting academic freedom. In 2021 to 22, more than 360 scholars left 8 public universities. The turnover rate, 7.4%, is at its highest since 1997, when Hong Kong returned to Chinese rule. Foreign student enrolments have dropped by 13% since 2019. Security guards are now a common sight in universities, ensuring that students and visitors must identify themselves. At the Chinese University of Hong Kong, the democracy wall has been stripped bare and a statue of the goddess of democracy is gone. The 2020 National Security Law targets subversive behaviour and has seen libraries emptied of books of bad ideologies and a ban on protests. Job applications for professors have dried up and fewer students are enrolling for PhDs in humanities and social sciences. Some academics say that even being an expert on China is a risk these days. Further details on this story can be found on the BBC News website. Pupils in Liverpool got a Shakespeare masterclass from Ralph Fiennes, which they described as weird but outstanding. The Harry Potter actor is starring in Macbeth at Liverpool's The Depot, but was supporting the Friends with Shakespeare event in a local school. The workshop included warm-up games, group work and language analysis. The star also focused on the theme of ambition in Macbeth and linked it to future plans and careers for students. Finally, GCHQ has released its annual brain teaser for UK school children. Its code-breaking challenge is aimed at 11 to 18-year-olds. More than 1,000 secondary schools signed up for this year's event, according to the BBC Breakfast programme. It is the third edition of the challenge, and it is designed to test code-breaking, maths and analysis skills, with each test designed to be harder than the last. There are 7 tasks in total, and children are encouraged to tackle them in teams, as solving puzzles needs a mix of minds. The full challenge can be found on the GCHQ website, just in case you want to test your own skills. This has been your Teachers Talk Radio News with Joe Fox.
We are back in the room.
Back in the room for part 2 of our Christmas special, Toby and Ed's Christmas special coming at you. And it's lovely to be back talking with Ed about all things education and social media. And yeah, it's good, isn't it?
And love as well. We've been talking about love as well, which we didn't used to. I think we've got soft in our old age.
I know.
So Toby, let me ask you casually, as if we hadn't planned it. So what are your hopes for 2024? What are your hopes for 2024? I'd like you to give me 3.
Oh dear, Ed. 3.
I had to think about it.
Would you like one of them to be sort of professional based?
Yeah, definitely.
One of them to be maybe personal.
I would think so.
Aspirational or cultural, bigger picture.
Well, I would say that sounds like a great plan. Why don't you do that? Well, shall we do our professional ones?
Let's do the professional ones.
Okay. So, what's your great professional aspiration?
I think the thing is, what I'm doing at the moment in my job, having changed school, is it's going well. I've received positive feedback. I seem to be fitting in, getting on well with the kids and colleagues, and my energy and enthusiasm is being appreciated. However, it's quite clear that my sort of primary style, if you like, of my energy, of my very people orientated, my very child orientated approach to being inspirational and educating in the classroom does grate a little bit with some of the kind of more measured, I suppose, maths colleagues, who are grinding out GCSE and A-level. And, I teach in the maths block. And, we tend to teach with our doors open. And my room's just a little bit more energetic than the rest of them. Partly because I'm teaching slightly younger kids. Year 7 and 8 have got a little bit more unchanneled energy, whereas they're, year 11s are a bit sedated to the process of the whole, thing. So I think my thing would be to, at my school, to slowly, gradually, without taking, so I want to be a better teacher. That's one of the reasons I'm there. I want to be a better maths teacher, a better science teacher. But you can't take the revolution out of the boy, No. So I want to regenerate professionally Key Stage 3 curriculum, not in science and maths, the whole thing. It's connectivity, and just make it a bit more standalone, because it's just a little dry. It's just a little drop down Key Stage 4.
My kid told me, first day at secondary school, he said that the form tutor said, why is it important that we all work hard at secondary school? And the kids, this is year 7s, new year 7s, they were thinking, they said, is it so that we can be better people? Is it so that we can be passionate learners? Is it so that we can make you proud? He said, no, to all of that. He said, no, the reason you need to work hard is so that you get good GCSEs, and that starts today. That was the first day in September of year 7. And I think
Oh,
in a lot of
that's
schools it does go
madness.
like that, doesn't it? No, passionate learners don't need to
Mm.
think about the specs until then they're year 10, do they? Anyway, my
Yeah.
first one, I'm currently enjoying what I'm doing very, very much, but I'm really hoping that this Celebrant business takes off, because I just think that's a marriage of stuff I'm really passionate about, and some stuff I'm quite good as well, you know? What was I good
Mm.
at as a teacher? Connection, bringing people together, holding a space, telling a story. I'm really looking forward to that. So that's my professional one. By the end of 2024, I want to be doing that as, a chunk of my living. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Touch wood. Okay, so I'm on a personal
Well,
resolution.
a personal one. So this is tricky and quite personal. It's catalyzed. So people, loyal listeners, dedicated listeners will know that I've had an enormous amount of change in my
Mm,
life last few years. And people may know that I had a bit of a wobble this time last year, that everything just came to a head. I'd got my new house, I was divorced, mother had some difficult times health wise, and they kind of continue. We're just aging really now, and then I had a bit of counselling,
yeah.
went to the doctor, got great new job, and was felt much better. But I got a new job and with increased salary, and then decided, okay, I am sorted now. I have got myself financially secure.
Yeah.
I am going to have a party. I'm going to go to every festival and
You
every
did.
gig I possibly can to through the summer. I'm going to take my kids to Italy for 4 days. We're going to go and see Blur in Italy. I'm going to see them twice at Wembley. I'm going to spend a stupid amount of money. And I've been spending, I'm not really materialistic, but I like nice food. I like nice drink. I like good music. I like festivals. I like buying records. I like buying books. And so I have been living beyond my means for
Okay.
most of my life. So
Yeah.
my personal ambition, and it's come to the head, not in a negative way, but just in an honest way, just by having a new really important person in my life,
Mhm.
which is, it's not been tested over a long period of time, but we've got pretty deep into quite a lot of things. And it's to sort my stuff out. I nearly said an S word, a different S word then, financially. So it's just to kind of get those various credit card balances down a bit,
Mhm.
maybe to consolidate my debt a bit, because I've got a fair amount of equity in the house. It's to live within my means and to save 10%
Okay. Well,
of my
that is
earnings.
very wise. Very wise. I can't even dream of that. I don't know what I'm coming in. This is new for me. I've had a job since I finished university. They weren't well paid, but I knew how much I was getting, you know. And at the moment,
Yeah.
I'm living hand to mouth. So I make some money, I spend some money. There's going to be a reckoning when the tax bill comes, I can tell you, because I haven't been tucking away a third of it, because I haven't got a third of it to tuck away. So financially, I'm making it up as I go along. I'm
Mm.
just wanting to, I'm really liking the fact that me and Katie are so happy. I'm loving that. And I'm loving the fact that my son is having a magical time at doing his A levels. He's really loving it. He's having a great time, having done very well in his GCSEs. He's now having a ball at the extra college, the CFE. So
Yeah.
I don't want to mess any of that up. I don't want to mess any of
Mhm.
that up. I do want to be able to, part of me is thinking, is it time to make some big decisions? Do I want to stay in the Southwest? If I do, I've got so many big things. I would like this time next year to just have some really, maybe a bit more clarity about,
Yeah,
what's
you're in
going on.
transition. You're in big. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, your son is 17.
Mm,
My youngest is turning
yeah.
17 in February. And so yeah, just there's so much change in my life, and the recent change been really, it's all been positive,
Mm,
but I think that is unsettling, and I think it's the sort of stuff that you're talking about. So it's just to try and get it right, and I think I don't want to screw anything up, but I have noticed that I have a self-destructive tendency, emotionally. I have a
you do.
self-destructive tendency.
Yeah.
So that I've probably got two personal ones. One is I'm learning a lot. You learn a lot when you've got someone else in your life.
Mm,
shining a mirror at you all the time, and you don't. It's why my dear mother's gone so bloody mad. Is that she's a gregarious, extrovert, outgoing person who's lived alone in the middle of nowhere for 35 years. You know,
yeah, you're right.
And that's for
There's no one to hold you to account or to call you out when you're being a bit silly, is there? Or to say, you know, do you really mean that, or are you making an excuse for yourself? Or
you really are overthinking that, or you really are overthinking that, or you really are, and you know, yeah, exactly. So it's just to really get better, get even better as a human being, because I think I'm pretty good, but you know, to get even better.
Not bad human for sure, but we can all get better. It's not a judgment on something. So right, so our third resolution or wish is one that's a bit more systemic, and I'm thinking bravely. Doesn't it feel to you? Doesn't it smell in the wind like there's time for a change in a lot of things? We are looking at a general election, but I don't know that we can hope for very much from a Labour Party in education. They don't seem to have policy ready to roll. But I do smell that the profession is ready to go, stuff this. We are going to do the right thing, you know? I really feel like they're just going, do you know what?
Have the knowledge rich curriculum, you know, cult of Nick Gibb, is that dying a death?
I feel it is dying a death, and I feel that although I don't believe that the people who are top of education, I was at a round table with Bridget Phillipson, who's the shadow
Labour
education. I was at a round table with her a couple of weeks ago up in Blackpool, and I thought, I could see that you really, really care about social equity. She comes from a place of poverty and she understands what that is, and she just wants to see how her party can help people out of it. And schooling's part of that, and housing's part of that. But I didn't really smell any passion for education. I think it's going to take the profession to say, do you know, we tried this experiment, and actually everybody is saying we need a bit less national curriculum. We need a bit more room to do the stuff that matters. We don't want to throw the baby out of the bathwater, but we need to make sure that school is a place where young people feel safe to be and happy to be, because they're leaving it in droves, and so's the profession. So I feel like it's a time when people should be just saying, no, we're putting the stories back in. We're putting the songs back in. We're putting the poetry back in. We're going to push back a little bit, you know, because the inspectorate has been given quite a punch on the nose, quite rightly. And actually, we're going to push back a bit and say, actually, no, we're the experts. This is our community, our school, our kids. We're going to do the right thing. So I would really love to see that. Whether, you know, we can be part of that movement through BrewEd or through whatever, I just feel like it's time to embolden head teachers, and teachers need to be bold and go, do you know what, we're going to do the right thing, because we got kids staying away from school because they don't feel safe here. That tells us something is wrong. It's on us to fix it. So I'm hopeful that it's a year when something could shift quite fundamentally. Gibbs' grip has got to loosen, hasn't it? So anyway, your turn.
Same. I've had pretty much the same. I don't have a huge amount of hope that a change of government, a change of education secretary again, a change of is really the catalyst. You know, it needs something bigger. It needs something bigger and deeper. And I mean, it's the thing is, the problem is, and what I encounter is the sort of people, and you became a head by accident, and you've bailed on it, understandably. But I like and admire the heads that I've worked with in the most part. But the sort of stuff they have to do, whether they're trying to keep an independent school financially afloat, or and keep new bums on seats, basically, or whether they're having to manage an increasingly challenged budget and very specific set of requirements from the DFE and the exam boards, etc. I think the sort of people who are successful professionally in anything, you know, they sit pretty. They're cautious. They're risk averse. If it ain't broke, you know, like completely broke, then I'm not really going to stick my neck above the water because I just want to preserve my salary, my mortgage, my blah blah blah. So my aspirational one would be that I'm just off the top of my head that careerists aren't promoted, that revolutionaries are. There you go.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I've been saying over and over these last few weeks since I heard it on a podcast. Jacques Delors, the great president of the European Union, apparently used to say, don't be an optimist, don't be a pessimist, be an activist.
Yeah.
And I love it. I'm like, yeah, because your feelings don't matter here. What you do is what matters. So speaking to people, working together, finding fellow cause with people, everything we can do. We got 5 minutes left on this. I don't know which Christmas character you most resemble. Have you got an opinion on that?
I think no, I don't know. I haven't come up with an answer to that question. Supposed to come up with an answer for.
Well, I don't know. We didn't give ourselves a lot of time for it. I'll tell you what, then I'll do mine, and then you've got to come in. So I was hoping that if I have to be a Christmassy character, I thought I'd quite like to be the ghost of Christmas Present from not the Jungle, but what's it called? Christmas Carol. That's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, because basically the reason for this, what put me in mind of it, is that I don't know if you've ever seen it, but I own green robes. Have you ever seen my green robes?
I have your green robes, yes.
Yeah, you have. So yes, because I own green robes, this is the tenuous connection. He was clothed in one simple, deep green robe or mantle, like a mantle of the expert, perhaps, bordered with white fur. This garment hung so loosely upon the figure that its capacious breast was bare, as if disdaining to be warded or concealed by any artifice. His dark brown curls, chest hair, not so brown, more grey, but we'll leave it, were long and free. Free is its genial face, which I nearly read as genital. Its sparkling eye, its open hand, its cheery voice, its unconstrained demeanour, and its joyful air. You've never seen the like of me before, exclaimed the spirit. So that's what I was hoping I might get away. I think I'm more likely a Bob Cratchit. Work hard, keep my head down. Pitifully grateful for any small mercy, but that's what I'd like.
Okay. You've helped me answer the question now. I am going to be, because it is the one essential part of Christmas that must always happen. It's bigger than Christmas. It is life itself. I would like to be, and I've gone and forgotten his name because I haven't watched the film for a year. I would like to be the lead character, living in Bedford Falls in It's a Wonderful Life, but played by James.
Jamie Stewart. Jimmy Stewart. Yeah.
What's his name?
Jimmy Stewart. What's the name of the character? I can't remember. We don't really matter. You do have to go through a whole hell of nastiness to get to be him, don't you? You have to be brought to the edge of suicide.
I like that. You know, I've done a lot of reflecting over the last few years, and I'm continuing to do it. You know, through the changes that I'm going through at the moment, and it's empowering. It's people to look at and realise what good we've made on the world. That thing of It's a Wonderful Life. That whole, we make a difference to people's lives as teachers. So this is Teacher Talk Radio. Yes. Or as educators, or as managers of education, or as consultants of education, we make a huge difference to people, and we touch people's lives. And if all you're doing it for is to get paid and to get to teach a curriculum rather than to touch someone's life, then you know we touch people's lives, the greatest teachers, and we don't necessarily realize it. And if you feel that your life's a bit low and a bit poo and a bit underpaid and a bit overstressed and a bit overpolitized and a bit over whatever, then just remind yourself that we can and do shape and people's lives, and people remember us, and we can have a huge impact, and so it's a good life. It's a wonderful life, people.
It's a wonderful life. What a wonderful note to nearly end on.
Yeah,
we were gonna have another song, weren't we?
We're gonna have two quick songs.
The bleak midwinter, frosty winds moan, I stood hard as iron, water like stone. Snow had fallen, snow, snow, snow on snow on snow. In the bleak midwinter, long ago, angels and archangels may have gathered there. Cherubim and seraphim thronged the air, but only his mother in her maiden bliss worshipped the beloved with a kiss. What can I give him, poor as I am? If I were a shepherd, I would bring
A lamb.
If I were a wise man, I would do my part.
Oh.
What can I give him? In my heart.
What I give him. Excellent. You sung it correctly. What I can give him. Not what can I give him.
No,
not what can.
It's not a question, is it? What I can, what I'm able to give, I give. That's
Yeah.
Yes, well, there we go. So that's what we said we'd do, and we've done it. Apart from, unless you wanted me to reprise last year's greatest hit, Away in a Manger. Yes.
Not Away in a Manger.
What?
Not Away in a Manger.
Which one is it?
We, Three Kings of Orient Are, with the chorus, isn't that? Oh.
Right, okay. Are we ready?
We're ready.
Okay. How did it go? Do you remember? We three kings of Orient, bearing gifts we travelled afar, on a mountain, field and fountain, travelling on the star. Whoa, star, star of night, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us to thy perfect light. Happy New Year when it comes, everybody.
Yeah.
Or Happy Christmas. I forget. Anyway, there you go. That was the
Happy post-Christmas hangover. Happy in-betweeny. Happy in-betweeny. And happy 2020.
As I like to call it, the Merineum. So are we ready to go? Here we are. Thank you for listening, if anyone did. And if they didn't, there's no harm done. Thank you, Teachers Talk Radio, for having us back for a Christmas special. I hope it was as much fun for you as it was for me and Toby. Frankly, I doubt it, but it would be nice if it was.
This show is brought to you in partnership with John Catt Educational, publishing professional development books and resources to support great teaching and learning in schools around the world. Have you checked out their latest releases? Use the code JCTTR2324 for 20% off your order. Don't miss out. Visit johncattbookshop.com to explore their full range of titles and advance your own professional development today. Happy reading. Bet UK is empowering the everyday wins, cheeky grins, big conversations, budding aspirations. Our goal? To make EdTech accessible and teaching exceptional. Join the global education community on the 24th to the 26th of January 2024 as we make education better together. Visit www.uk.betshow.com/visitor-registration.